This is a lecture from Open Tuition. To benefit from the lecture, you should download the free lecture notes from opentuition.com.
Okay, I'm going to work through question 1 from the paper F5 March-June 2016 hybrid exam, where they've picked a few questions from both the March exam and the June exam. But question 1, and so make sure you've got the question in front of you. If you haven't, you better stop the lecture and then start it again when you've downloaded it. But make sure you've got the question in front of you, and let's have a quick read. It's a short one, 10 marks. Jewel is setting up an online business importing and selling jewellery headphones. The cost of each set varies depending on the number purchased, although they can only be purchased in batches of 1,000 units. We also have to pay import taxes, which vary according to the quantity purchased. Jewel has already carried out some market research and identified that sales quantities are expected to vary depending on the price charged. So a standard thing in pricing questions, that the higher the selling price, the fewer will sell. Consequently, the following data has been established for the first month. And we told number of batches imported and sold, what the average cost per unit will be, what the total fixed cost will be, and the expected selling price. So again, high price would only sell 1 batch, low price, $12 a unit, we expect to sell 5 batches. And part A for 6 marks, calculate how many batches Jewel should import and sell. And if you remember with pricing questions of this nature, there are the 2 approaches, either the table approach or the algebraic approach, getting the price demand equation and so on. But here, if you're the slightest bit unsure, I mean, the way it's set up looks to me as though it's a table approach. But if you're at all unsure, make sure you've read the whole question. Part B, which we'll look at when we come to it, but it does say explain why we could not use the algebraic method. So we'll think about why we couldn't when we come to it, but that's effectively telling you that part A does have to be the table approach. How you set up your table is up to you. Ultimately, how many batches should we import and sell? We want whichever gives the highest profit. And so it's a question for each level, each selling price, and the associated number of batches. We need to work out what the profit will be, and the best one is whichever gives the highest total profit. Well, as I was saying, how you set up your table is entirely up to you, as long as it's clear for the marker. It's clear what you're trying to do, and then even if you've made a silly arithmetic mistake, you'd still get most of the marks if it's clear that you're trying to do it properly. So let's set it up. We've got various batches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To work out the profit, we need to work out what the revenue is going to be. We need to subtract the total costs. And we've 2 costs here. We've got the average cost per unit to the variable cost. We've also got the fixed cost. The 2 together will give us total cost. And therefore the profit we'll end up with will be the total revenue less the total cost. So it's just speed on your calculator here. If we sell 1 batch, the selling price per unit will be $20. The total revenue, remember they're batches of 1,000 units. So 1 batch, 1,000 units at 20 is going to be 20,000 total revenue. The variable cost, well, for 1 batch is $10 a unit. So 1,000 units is 10,000. And the total fixed costs are 10,000. And so the total cost, 20,000. And so for 1 batch, the revenue is going to be 20,000, the cost 20,000, the profit will be 0. What happens if we sell 2 batches? We'll have to drop the price to 18. 2 batches, 1,000 units each batch, so that's 2,000 units. The revenue at 18 a unit, 2,000 times 18 is 36,000. The cost, 2 batches, 1,000 units, 2,000 units at 880. The variable cost, 17,600. The fixed cost, straight from the question, 10,000, giving a total of 27,600. The profit, therefore, revenue 36,000, costs 27,600, profit of 8,400. So far, obviously, that's the best. We have to carry on with all of them in exactly the same sort of way. 3 batches, 3,000 units. The selling price would need to fall to 16. 3,000 units at 16 is 48,000. The variable cost, 3,000 units at 780 is 23,400. The fixed costs, 12,000. And so total costs, fixed plus variable, 35,400. And therefore, the profit revenue, 48,000 minus 35,400 is 12,600. We're doing better. What about 4 batches? The selling price would have to fall to 13. 4 batches of 1,000, 4,000 units at 13 is 52,000 total revenue. The variable cost, 4,000 at 640 a unit is 25,600. The fixed cost, straight from the question, 12,000. So the total costs, 25,600, 12,000 is 37,600. And therefore the profit, 52,000 minus 37,600, 14,400. So we're getting better each time, but the last possibility, 5 batches, which needs a selling price of $12 a unit. So 5,000 at $12 is 60,000 total revenue. The variable cost, 5,000 at 640 is 32,000. Excuse me, fixed costs 14, so total costs 46,000. And therefore, last one, the profit 60 revenue, 46 cost, profit of 14,000. So there we are. And what does it say? How many batches should we import and sell to get the biggest profit? The highest profit is 14,400, and therefore, make sure your answer stands out clearly. We should import, well, to get the maximum profit, we should import 4 batches. And although it doesn't actually say, so I'm going to write, ask for it, I'm going to write down, and sell at $13 per unit. So I think that's pretty straightforward. It took a few minutes to read the question. Otherwise, it really is just speed on your calculator for 6 marks. And as I said at the beginning, it doesn't matter how you set up the table. You know, ultimately, it's getting those profits correct. But do make sure that you set it up in a way, you don't just work out the profit on your calculator. You set it up in a way where the marker can see what you're trying to do. And as I said at the beginning, even if you've made an arithmetic mistake, if you're doing it the right way, you'd get most of the marks. You know, one alternative, which I could have done, is put the contribution each time. You know, 1 batch, selling price per unit 20, cost per unit 10, so a contribution per unit 10. 1,000 units, so a contribution of 10,000. Less the fixed costs of 10, profit 0, so, you know, various ways. Anyway, Having done part A, we've effectively passed the question, we've got more than half marks. What about part B though? Why could we not use the algebraic method? What they're talking about, if you remember, if you've watched the pricing lectures on the website, for the algebraic method, we'd have to work out the price-demand equation. Once we've got A and B in the price-demand equation, we can get the marginal revenue equation using the formula on the formula sheet. And then for maximum profit, marginal revenue. It's when marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go through all that here. It's not required. But why couldn't we take that approach here? Well, I'm not going to write down a full answer. I'll say everything, but it wastes time me writing it on the screen. You can obviously read the examiner's answer. But there are several things to mention. First of all, the price-demand equation, P equals A minus BQ, does assume there's a linear relationship between the price and the demand. And what's happening here, at a quick look, drop the price, start with 20, drop the price by $2 a unit, and we sell one more batch, fine. Drop by another $2 a unit, we sell one more batch, fine. It's linear. But then drop it by $3 a unit, and we sell one more batch. Drop it by 13 to 12, only $1 a unit to one more batch. It should be clear to you that it's not linear. So the price-demand relationship I said I wouldn't write in full, but price-demand relationship is not linear. And incidentally, although do read the examiner's answer, writing points like this would be fine. That will get me a mark. So that's one reason, certainly the way we do it, the only way you're expected to do it algebraically, that it won't work here. It's not a linear relationship. The other big thing relates to the costs. That normally, when it's an algebraic one, the fixed costs are fixed. And so we're only looking at the marginal, the variable cost. So here's another problem. The fixed costs change. You should remember that in exam questions, when it's algebraic, the marginal cost is the variable cost per unit. They stand to be fixed costs, but they aren't relevant to the decision, provided it's the same fixed costs, whatever's happening. Here, the fixed costs do change. And so we're not going to be able to do it the normal way. And also, I've effectively said it, but the variable cost, here the variable cost keeps changing. It's $10, $8.80, $7.80, $6.40, $6.40. Well, again, look back at the lecture, look back at other examples you've done. But the marginal, the variable cost per unit, when we're doing it algebraically, we assume is fixed per unit. It would have to be $10 per unit, whatever the quantity. Here it keeps changing. So the variable of the marginal cost is not constant. And so all of those really make it impossible to do it the algebraic way. Finally, one more point here. Again, you need to look back at the lecture on the price-demand equation and everything, or other examples. But we are only given selling prices here of 20, 18, 16, 13, 12. And the batches, it's either one batch, two batch, three batch. When you're doing it algebraically, even if everything was linear, we had the equations, it could be that the best selling price, we've got the best selling price to be 13, but it could be, were it all linear, that the best selling price was $13.50, $13.20, it could be anything. And the number of batches, given 1,000 units each time, instead of it being 4 batches and 4,000 units, algebraically it could be anywhere. It could be 4,500 units. But here it's clear that that's not possible. There are only 5 possible selling prices and 5 possible numbers of batches. And so the answer has to be a selling price of 20 or 18 or 16 or 13 or 12. I say again, algebraic method, even if those 3 were all valid, algebraic could end up with a selling price that's not one of the 5. So I'll write that down as well. Only 5 possible selling prices and quantities. And so there's enough. That would get me the 4 marks. And again, you don't need to write an essay. The examiner always writes more than's expected because people learn from it. So again, read the examiner's answer. But I've made 4 points there, provided my writing was neat enough that they could read it. That would get me the 4 marks. All right, that was a short one. But there we are. Question 1.